Well, it's time now to review headlines on today's newspapers with the Ombudsman of this day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited Group Executive Director Kayode Komolafe. Good morning, Mr. KK. Thank you for joining us. A little late this morning, but we will make the best of it.
It's always a pleasure to have you.
Yes.
All right, KK. Okay.
Good morning.
All right, so let's proceed with the review of This Day on Sunday. The lead story is on the Osun elections, local government elections, and the headline says, low turnout as Governor Adeleke dares Fagbemi police conduct local government elections. That was our first story for today, where we analyze what's going on, what the Attorney General said, the Inspector General of Police, and the riders to this lead story on the cover of This Day are even more illuminating. No election took place, say APC, APM. OSEC declares PDP winner of all chairmanship, councillorship seats. We mentioned that earlier. Police seal OSEC headquarters. Arrest staff, commission alleges. And Adeleke commends Tinubu for supporting rule of law. So Osun is getting hot, possibly hotter. But of course, there is also the question of legality here and there, and what the police on the one hand and the Attorney General of the Federation on the other hand thinking about it. The window story says Tinubu, we are genuinely open to business, ready to remove all hindrances to growth. The rider says pledges support for fintech companies. Flutterwave highs the Nigerian exchange. That story is on page 5. And then under that is a story on page 6 of today's paper. PDP NWC kicks as Wike zonal executive hold parties South Congress. And of course, also very important will be the story that practically every other newspaper, is either leading with a shade of it or, one way or the other, but still on the autobiography of the former military president, General Ibrahim Babangida. And the story, which is on page 5 of today's This Day, says Abacha's son says his father victim of envy. And I believe that that's directed at the general who, one way or the other, said that the late General Abacha, who succeeded him, when he stepped aside, in August of 1993, was part of those who prevailed on him, even at the gunpoint, why Abiola should not be given his mandate. So, KK, I'm sure that that's a story that you might want to share useful insight, given that practically all the papers have been having one thing or the other since Friday to say about it. General IBB's autobiography, 17 billion naira raised towards a presidential library, which Chris Nwakobe has told us, if you were never elected as a president, a presidential library would therefore become an anathema, if you mounted power through the barrels of the gun. KK, as This Day for you today.
Thank you, Steve. We should start with the lead story of This Day on Sunday.
The Osun election.
Yeah, the Osun election, And to say that, at least, let's start with the good news from it, that yesterday, the report was that the election was peaceful. No blood was shed, Especially when you look at when you see it from the backdrop of the fact that last week, days before the election, some people were killed. I think about 7 or so, including a local government chairman. And that is why on this occasion, we must single out in the old story, of all the players, we must single out the police for commendation. Because despite the fact that the IG, just like the AG, advised, against the election, the legal issue, but the police made sure that their security was provided, that is, that lives and property, were secured. I think the police did, the right thing, in not descending into the arena, part of it, even though some of the rhetoric of the politicians will suggest as if the police was a party, in the dispute. But it was good that the IG, smartly, tried to distance the police as an organization that has a constitutional duty of ensuring security and performing that particular duty.
Vanguard is reporting that police shun Osun local government poll as PDP wins all states. So Vanguard is saying that police...
No, there was all reports, and the Arise report showed that the police provided security. In fact, one of the persons that was giving a voice on Arise was even complaining that the police should not have just ensured checkpoints, security at checkpoints, and moving, that they should have also been at the polling booth, which I'm not sure that is the procedure. I mean, the normal thing is that the police, from a distance, they ensure that. I think they did that. And if the police had not been Osun yesterday, perhaps the story could have been different. I think the police deserves, the commendation. And just like you said, Steve, the real issue ultimately will be resolved legally.
Yes.
So I imagine that after this, the fireworks will continue, in court from both parties. And so what can be said, the advice that should be given to the party, both Osun State government as well as the APC, the opposition party in Osun, contesting it, is that they should all have confidence in the legal process, and whatever dispute that is involved should be legally resolved, and there should be no violence in Osun, so that the next time we hear news from Osun should not be that of tension, that peace, should reign supreme in Osun. Yes, the IBB story. It's the lead story of the Vanguard, the lead story of Punch, it's the lead story of Tribune, and some other papers. So you can say that it's eminently...
Why we removed Buhari from power in 1985 is how, as Vanguard captured it.
Captured, yes.
Yeah.
And Tribune
in the Sunday Tribune, it says, IBB's bombshell. OBJ opted to leave army. When asked to succeed Murtala, he speaks on how he disarmed Dimka during 1976 coup, and of course, Abacha's son, history will judge my dad favorably.
Yes. The chairman of that occasion, former President Obasanjo, already made a forecast of what will happen. Advised his friend at the end that he should expect, and of course that should be expected that any IBB story, in the last 40 years, because it's exactly 40 years. On August 27, this year, it will be 40 years that IBB declared himself as the military, the first time we are having a military president, and of course, it's 32 years that he left office, on August 27, 1993. Now, what I'm saying is that, what is expected, in fact, what would have been a surprise is that if you don't have the avalanche of criticisms, and reaction that you're having, because you are dealing with an issue, which has, cost, blood, and sweat, and a lot of, moral, cost. People have suffered incarceration, discomfort, dislocation, anger, So it is legitimate. Yeah. It is expected and it's legitimate that people, the anger, is shown. And what is even remarkable is that the way the anger has been expressed in the last, since the occasion, is as if these things happened yesterday, But when you now remember that we're talking about something like things that happened, more than 30 years ago, it just shows the depth, of the issues involved. Despite that, 32 years after the June 12, 1993 presidential election, what is expected is that that beyond the emotion, that there should be more rigorous approach, to that, part of our history, because of his significance,
Okay.
And it is when we have a more rigorous approach to it, then they'll be able to see that the June 12th story is a story of contradictions.
Yes.
So in contradiction you have different versions are be contending.
Absolutely.
But what must be asserted is that Babangida is entitled to tell his own side of the story.
And he has done so.
Yeah, he has done so.
Yes.
So others too are also entitled, to tell their own side of the story. Their version,
Right.
Because what is clear now that you cannot say this is the fashion. I mean the version that this is the only version, of what happened there. You had different stories. Already. And as I'm saying this especially from the what should be the attitude of public intellectuals, and even scholars, good enough. At least may their souls rest in peace. Two scholars, who played some role, in the thing, namely Professor Humphrey Nwosu, who was the chairman of the National Electoral Commission, who, by the way, has not been celebrated enough for his heroism in this matter. That his place, in the matter that nobody is even giving credit to Nwosu, for conducting the election. Because why I'm saying that June 12 is a contradiction is that in one breath in the story, we will say June 12, 1993 presidential election is the freest and fairest election in Nigerian history. That some people organized the election.
Yes.
That was a framework to make it to be free. To be the freest and the fairest.
Right.
Then, of course, what happened upon the beginning of the debacle. While dealing with Babangida's book, I would also recommend that people should also find Humphrey Nwosu's own book, Laying Foundation for Democracy in Nigeria.
All right.
It's account of June 12. And also Professor Omo Omoroyi, who was also there, please, So I'm saying that there should be a more rigorous approach, in appreciating
in the conversation about it. So we have less than 1 minute, but before I take this day style, I wanted to read the sum up of the June 12th on Sunday Sun, and it's Gani Adams falls IBB on claim Abacha annulled poll, and the writers there demands entitlements given to ex-presidents to be extended to Abiola. Says coast now clear for President Tinubu to make necessary atonement, and Babangida should not go unpunished, Archbishop Chukwuma. And that is just, another version of the conversation. So we'll end by taking this day's style. And the cover picture there is Professor Benedict Orama, Africa's financial titan. And the editor's note: few leaders have left an indelible mark on Africa's economic landscape like Professor Benedict Orama, the president and chairman of the board of directors of African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank. A distinguished economist and financier, Orama has spent nearly 3 decades shaping the trajectory of the continent's trade and financial integration. Since assuming the presidency of Afreximbank in 2015, he has overseen a staggering expansion of the bank's assets from $6 billion to $31.1 billion, cementing its role as a driving force. Really amazing. I'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Kayode Komolafe, for joining us on Newspaper Review today.